Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by Stephanie Warlick. Stephanie is the visionary behind 5 Foot View Consulting. She has over 30 years of experience of guiding small businesses towards sustainable growth. In her remarkable leadership, she has a knack for helping businesses overcome their organizational gaps. So we're going to be talking to her. I'm just kind of curious about the story behind 5 Foot View. But we're going to be talking to her about that and everything that she's up to. So, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining me.
Curtis, thank you for having me. I'm so pleased to speak with you today.
Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
So I am a 30-year business executive. I started out in family-owned small businesses as a teenager, and I love small business. I migrated from small business, joining my husband after many, many years in a promotional products company, launched from there into government contracting for about 10 years. Then I went to software development, which was a really interesting experience moving from professional services to software development, and then started 5 Foot View 2 years ago because what I really love, my passion is small business. And here I am. When I'm not working, which is not very often because I'm a workaholic, I'm a mom of twins and a dog mom and love to play pickleball and hike with my husband.
All right. Well, you are the visionary behind 5 Foot View. So kind of explain what your company does and explain the story about how that name came about. That's an interesting name.
It is. Thank you for saying that. It's actually I love this story and I love when people ask me. So when I started 5 Foot View, I was just again coming out of 10 years of government contracting and 2 years in software development, but primarily it was the government contracting influence where my peers that were prior military service people, veterans, would often talk about the 5 meter target or the 30,000 foot view, where we're discussing the strategy of something at the 30,000 foot view or the 5 meter target, meaning the priority at hand. And what I really wanted to convey to my clients when I started 5 Foot View is that while I absolutely have the ability to create strategy, my passion is getting right up there in the weeds with a visionary and an owner at a very attention to detail, close up view, side by side, elbow to elbow, shoulders and sleeves rolled up, helping them put out their fires every day with that attention to detail. So I thought that 5 Foot View explained that. Although it's funny, somebody said to me, are you 5 foot tall?" I said, well, I happen to be 5'5", but that never occurred to me when I created the name. And then 5 Foot View has evolved actually just recently. When I started it 2 years ago, I was a solopreneur serving as a fractional COO, human resources professional, and an integrator, which is equivalent to COO in the EOS framework. But just recently, when I added AI services, I also expanded to a fractional expert collective where I now have about 50 individuals on the team that are all C-suite experts with 20 to 40 years or more of experience. And we serve the market, all industries, all levels of a business stage of life. And we help businesses scale where they would not otherwise be able to afford a fractional an executive.
Okay. So if I was a business and I came to your company and I said, hey, Stephanie, I need some help here with my business, what kind of services do you actually do you and your company actually provide?
Start by asking you where are your pain points? Where are you stuck? Let's role play that for a moment. Could you tell me give me an example of where your company might be stuck, and then I could tell you how we might solve that challenge.
Like, for example, we're looking for small and effortless ways to make sure that we are providing exclusivity or inclusiveness in our workplace.
Yeah, so in that particular example, I'd recommend that we hold a workshop for the particular organization and help them understand what inclusivity means, because it does mean different things to different people. Obviously, individuals with disability, it means a particular thing, and whether you're visually impaired or hearing impaired, it means one thing. And we might focus on digital accessibility. But if it means inclusivity because you're a female in a male-dominated environment, or an individual of color in a predominantly white environment, or vice versa. I've been in environments before where I was the only person that was white. And those types of inclusivity conversations are super important to have collaboration and trust among the team. So I would then suggest a workshop.
What if we needed some help? You mentioned this digital accessibility. If we have people in, like you say, that have different disabilities, how do you help companies work with digital accessibility?
Yeah, so I'm not the technical expert of digital accessibility. I think you do know that I wrote a book called Dark and Silent Office, a digital accessibility guidebook for inclusive communication in the workplace. And that does focus on a layperson, non-technical conversation about things that coworkers can do in the workplace. And it was really geared toward, because of my human resources background, geared toward leaders and human resources professionals to say, these are the things that you need to do to be inclusive. So that workshop might teach people about um, how to make sure the captions are turned on during meetings, and how to hold I'm sorry, not a virtual meeting, but an in-person meeting to be inclusive, or how to make sure that your documents, for those that have low vision or color blindness, how to make them have color contrast, or someone who's hearing impaired, or have neurodivergent tendencies, maybe to put out the materials in advance so that they can process and read. And certainly to make sure digital accessibility I focus on documents. Digital accessibility tends to, and you know this, I'm educating someone that doesn't need to be educated, but digital accessibility is a lot about the website. But I said, okay, but I'm an employee and I don't communicate with my peers through a website. I communicate through the intranet, or web documents, maybe Slack or PowerPoints and those things. How do we make those types of things accessible? So we teach people how to do those things, very quick, easy, low cost, low effort um, actions that individuals can take, not even at the corporate level, so that we can get past that. Well, we don't have funding for that kind of conversation. It's just a little bit of effort for individuals to learn how to use the accessibility tools within the software products that we're already working on. Another really big part of the book is just to have that conversation with peers, how to have that conversation. And there's some playing conversations to say to your peer, I want to communicate with you. Can you tell me the best way that I can communicate with you? Because often individuals that do not have the disability kind of ignore that conversation, and it's a big elephant in the room for them. And I educate people that a person with a disability knows they have a disability, and kind of ignoring that just makes things worse. It's no secret, right? So to be proactive and say to someone, what is the best way to communicate with you? You know, someone that is hearing impaired may read lips and may need you to always be facing their face if they're wanting to read your lips. Others use American Sign Language and need to learn that. But there should, a non-disabled person should never assume that someone, just because they're hearing impaired, uses sign language. So it's really about having that conversation or someone that is visually impaired. How do you want me to approach you in the room so that I don't startle you and announce myself coming into the room? Those are really very basic inclusivity conversations that I think are super important to teach people how to have.
Well, you might not be a digital accessibility expert, but sounds like you sure got it down.
I try, Curtis, and it was really profound for me when I learned about, frankly, digital accessibility. I worked for a digital accessibility company. I was about 50. I was super excited to work for a company that was doing good for the world. But as soon as I got there as the chief administrative officer, so a person on the leadership team, I had no idea, I realized, how to communicate with my peers that were blind or deaf. And that was the first time I'd experienced that in my life. And truly, I was embarrassed and ashamed. And I think it was one of those moments where I said, okay, I now know better. I must do better. And if I got this far in my professional career with great success, and as a certified human resources person, and I have no idea how to do these things, and I wasn't taught, and I was never exposed to it, I have to teach other people this. And so that was really the genesis of the book, was to move that forward and say, once you know better, please do better, because we know that inclusive and diverse environments are the most successful workplaces. So that's really where it came from. And I'm so grateful that I had that experience to become a better person and a better communicator with all types of people.
Speaking of your book, go ahead and talk about your book. Let listeners know where they can get it. Explain what listeners will get out of the book when they read it, and anything else you want to talk about the book, why you
Thank
decided
you.
to write it.
Yeah, so I am ADHD, and again, I wrote it for professionals, maybe in the HR field, or leaders and coworkers, to be able to foster an inclusive environment with individuals that they work with. I focused on visually impaired and hearing impaired because honestly, if I wrote the book for all disabilities, it would have been a mile long, and I needed to start somewhere. So, Dark and Silent Office can be found on Amazon. There's also an audio book available there. And it's really because I'm ADHD and don't really read long segments of information well. I made it in really quick, easy to read, large font paragraphs, small short paragraphs, and checklists, so that someone really could turn to any section of the book and say, I'm holding a meeting. Here's the things that I need to do. I have a coworker. How do I have that conversation with them? So really a quick, easy read. My dream is that every company brings it into their organization and makes it a part of their onboarding and orientation. So I've reached out to the Society for Human Resources and other organizations to say, let's put this book in the hands of everybody. It's just so easy to teach people. And again, low cost, low effort, low tech ideas that we can foster this inclusivity.
Let's take a quick break.
Okay, everybody, it's Michael E. Cullen II.
And I'm Sesame and Carta from the All Too Real 2 podcast. We're passionate about movies, TV, and pretty much all things pop culture.
Dive into the chaos of failed sitcoms, direct-to-video sequels, and the quirky realms of cinema and TV.
Join us every Thursday for your dose of All Too Real 2 entertainment.
We'll guide you through debates like whether Howard the Duck qualifies as a superhero.
Ponder if Larry the Cable Guy could be the new Rock or Schwarzenegger.
Discover if some shows and movies should have stayed in the cutting room.
Ever heard of a sitcom featuring that dictator with the funny mustache? Well, we watched it.
We're dedicated to unraveling the peculiarities of pop culture, sometimes with awesome guests.
So, if you're into the eccentric world of pop culture,
listen and subscribe to All Too Real 2.
Available wherever you find podcasts
and on Age of Radio.
Well, talk about how you help companies foster an entrepreneurial spirit on every level?
Oh gosh, you hit all my favorite questions. You must have been reading about me somewhere. So, um, what you just described is the concept called owner mindset. That is the knowledge that I took from working not only as a in family businesses since I was a teenager, but all the years of working as a small business entrepreneur, and then applied those skills and abilities during into the corporate space, that work that I did. I had something like 7 promotions over 12 years and increased my salary by over 100,000 during that time. And I did that using the owner mindset. And so, what I teach using what I call the stand in the gap method is to teach individuals how to visualize a gap. A gap in a workplace is like someone's not performing a task and nobody's taking ownership over that responsibility, or there's a problem, but nobody's grabbed the bull by the horns to figure out how to solve it. Those types of things. And I'll give you a really very simple and basic example of standing in the gap. I'll say to someone, if you're walking down the hall and you stumble upon a piece of garbage that is in front of you, do you pick up that piece of garbage and put it where it belongs in the garbage or on the shelf or whatever it may be? Or do you walk past it and say, that's not my garbage? Because the owner mindset is, I'm going to pick up that piece of garbage and put it where it belongs for numerous reasons. Number one, it's not in the best interest of the company for it to be here. Someone could get hurt. It makes us look messy. It could be dangerous for other reasons. I'm going to take care of that piece of garbage. And if we refer to that piece of garbage as any of those undone tasks or the unwanted tasks that people have within an organization, those are the things that an owner of an organization is going to be mindful of and just take care of it, because that's in the best interest of the company. And when we focus on the best interest of the company, we're always going to find success as individuals and help the company be more successful. Those people that walk past the piece of garbage that say, that's not my job, are not going to find success in corporate world. They also are likely never going to be a successful entrepreneur, because really, when you're an entrepreneur, you need to roll up your sleeves and you do everything from scrubbing the toilets to closing multi-million-dollar deals. And that's what it is, to stand in the gap, have an owner mindset. And I believe that we can teach people to not only to managers to foster the owner mindset, but for individuals to employ the owner mindset with all of those character traits that I teach, that I think form the complete owner mindset and help them be successful wherever they are in their career.
Well, I know another one of your favorite topics is HR compliance. So talk about how you help small businesses make sure that they are doing what they need to do to be HR compliant.
Yeah, HR compliance is such a tricky thing right now and so difficult for small businesses. Post-COVID, where people went remote, one of the biggest challenges in compliance is paying people, pay transparency, paying people where they work. If I moved from Washington, D.C. to Florida, do I now pay people from the salary base that they had that was in the Washington, D.C. very expensive area, or do they get a different income for moving to that remote location? But in addition, the transparency laws that are now coming out, or the fact that when those individuals go remote and they work predominantly in that remote location, the organization does not need to follow the laws just of where their corporate office is. They now have to follow the laws of where that work is predominantly created, done, performed, whatever the case may be. And so that's super tricky for a small business. Now you've got a human resources professional that had it nailed and knew exactly all the laws for their region, and now they have to learn all of the other laws. So those are just a few ways where it's super tricky. And my HR professionals and I serve companies by going in and making sure that they're meeting their compliance so that they don't get huge fines and they stay competitive. Because, as an example, back to pay transparency, the workers that are coming into the workforce now demand transparency and clarity and equity. And when you don't present that through appropriate pay grades and transparency for salaries and how they can be successful and promote from one level to the next, they're going to go to the next employer, the one that gives them what they're demanding.
Well, tell us about any current and upcoming projects that you and your company, 5 Foot View, are working on that listeners need to be aware of.
Wow, I have so many exciting projects right now, primarily because of the new initiative of adding the fractional experts to my team. We're really heavy in marketing, making sure that businesses, not only through small, but through enterprise, understand the strength and capabilities and experiences and wins that the fractional experts have. Where if you want to get from A to Z and the fractional expert has already done it, this is the person for you to help get your business there and take your product to market, your service to market, and whatever. We're talking to a lot of private equity firms because of the startups that are happening right now, and the I think they're calling it the silver tsunami, this wave of baby boomers that are wanting to sell and close their businesses because the heirs don't want to take it over, or there is no heir to sell it to. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done with those organizations to get them up to speed in terms of current marketing efforts, AI, getting their books ready for sale. So we've got a lot of that going on. And then personally, I'm super excited about working with a movie producer that has a video game company and getting his products launched. I'll be doing that in a COO capacity.
Wow. Well, so listeners can keep up with everything that you're up to, throw out your contact info.
Thank you. www.5, the number 5, foot, FTView, VIEW.com is the best place. It lists all of our experts with their credentials, talks a little bit about the AI work that we're doing and how we're helping small businesses really prepare to survive the next decade. And that begins with an assessment, by the way. We didn't talk about AI, but lots of folks are just plopping AI on and saying, oh, I'm going to bring on this tool without strategizing and really understanding what the impact is to their business and how to use that. And what's going to happen when companies do that, they're going to have to break that down in a year or two and start over because they really just started driving with no destination in mind. So we work with companies on that. And so you can find about our experts, our AI services, and contact us through our website. Thank you, Curtis.
We'll close us out with some final thoughts. Maybe if that was something I forgot to talk about that you would like to touch on, and any final thoughts you have for the listeners.
You know, I love to end with an inspirational quote. And since you focus on inspiration, I'd love to share with folks that while I have now a successful and thriving business that I absolutely love and I wake up thrilled to go to work every day, it wasn't always like that. I've been in places, organizations, or had bad days in my own business where I let fear and doubt hold me back from what I wanted to do. And every time I peeked behind the curtain or the door and said, okay, let me test this out, and opened that door and or jumped off the cliff, let's say, metaphorically, to just dive in, I was so excited and found greatness. And I thought, every time I do this and I take that leap, I find that while they're not all successful, it didn't hurt and it wasn't as scary as I thought it was. And it just gives me that courage to keep trying. So I encourage anyone who's interested in starting a small business or going after their dream, writing a book. I would have never thought I would have been an author, but I was pulled to that passion and have so much fun presenting that to folks. So I just encourage people to really go for their passions and don't let fear and doubt or naysayers stand in their way, because you can have awesome work days and really fulfill your days with passion.
Absolutely. Well said. Ladies and gentlemen, please visit 5ftview.com for more information on Stephanie, and please check out her book. Follow us on your favorite podcast platform and to leave feedback and suggestions. And for more information on the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, visit www.curveball337.com. Thank you for listening and supporting the show. And Stephanie, thank you for all that you do to help make, the world of business a better place. And thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Curtis. It was a great conversation today.
For more information on the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, visit www.curveball337.com. Until next time, keep living the dream.